Happy birthday, sweetheart. I know it's not the same as having everyone here, but you're not alone today, okay? 26-year-old nurse Marlo Tennyson set a small homemade cake on the hospital tray, watching 4-year-old Twyla's eyes widen with surprise. The little girl had been admitted 3 days ago with pneumonia, and Marlo had noticed something heartbreaking. No visitors, no cards, no balloons, just a lonely child in a room meant for celebration. You made this for me?" Twyla's voice was barely a whisper, her small fingers reaching toward the cake as though it might disappear. "I did," Marlo said gently, sitting on the edge of the bed. "My chart says it's your birthday. Every birthday deserves cake, don't you think?" Twyla nodded slowly, then her lower lip trembled. "My daddy's very busy. He has important meetings. And my mommy, she's in heaven. So birthdays are just regular days now." The matter-of-fact sadness in that tiny voice broke Marlo's heart. She'd been a pediatric nurse for 4 years, but some moments still cracked through her professional armor. "Well, today isn't a regular day. Today you turn 4, and that's special, so we're gonna celebrate together. You and me. Is that okay?" Twyla's eyes filled with tears, not sad ones, but the kind that come from unexpected kindness. "Nobody ever brought me cake before, not since Mommy died." Marlo stayed for her entire break, singing a soft birthday song, helping Twyla blow out the single candle she'd snuck from home, listening to stories about a mother who'd loved tea parties and painting. By the time she returned to her rounds, Marlo had made a silent promise to check on Twyla every shift. What Marlo didn't know was that Twyla's father, 33-year-old CEO Hadrian Vale, had been standing outside the room for the past 20 minutes, frozen by what he was witnessing through the door's window. Hadrian had arrived late, again, after another emergency board meeting. He'd expected to find his daughter asleep, to leave gifts with the nurses and slip away with his guilt intact. Instead, he watched a young nurse with paint-stained scrubs spend her break making his daughter feel seen. The shame hit him like a physical blow. When had he last celebrated Twyla's birthday properly? When had he last made her feel special instead of inconvenient? He waited until Marlo left, then entered quietly. Twyla looked up, cake crumbs still on her chin, her expression transforming from joy to careful neutrality. "Daddy, did you see? A nurse brought me cake because she knew I was lonely." The word lonely gutted him. "I saw, sweetheart. That was very kind of her." "Her name is Miss Marlo. She has a nice smile, like Mommy used to." Hadrian's throat constricted. His wife had died 2 years ago, and he'd thrown himself into work, convincing himself that providing financially was the same as providing presents. Now his daughter was teaching strangers about loneliness, while he built empires in boardrooms. The next morning, Hadrian did something unprecedented. He cleared his schedule and stayed at the hospital all day. When Marlo arrived for her shift, she found him reading to Twyla, his expensive suit rumpled, exhaustion evident in every line of his face. "Mr. Vale?" Marlo said, surprised. "I'm glad you're here. Twyla's been asking about you." Hadrian stood, and Marlo noticed his red-rimmed eyes. "I need to thank you for yesterday, for seeing my daughter when He couldn't finish. Marlo understood immediately. Being present is hard when you're grieving. You're doing your best. "Am I?" Hadrian's laugh was bitter. "My 4-year-old daughter spent her birthday alone until a stranger brought cake. That's not best. That's failure." "It's human," Marlo corrected gently, "and the fact that you're here now matters. Kids don't need perfection. They need effort." Over Twyla's week-long hospital stay, something unexpected developed. Hadrian began arriving earlier each day, watching Marlo interact with patients, her genuine warmth, her ability to make medicine feel less frightening, her gift for seeing children as people rather than cases. One evening, after Twyla fell asleep, Hadrian found Marlo in the family lounge. "Can I ask you something? Why did you bring her cake? You barely knew her."
Marlo was quiet for a moment. Because I know what it feels like to be the sick kid everyone forgets. I spent my 7th birthday in a hospital with leukemia. No visitors except my parents, who were terrified. A nurse named Rita brought me cupcakes and played cards with me for hours. She made me feel like I mattered, despite being sick. I became a nurse because of her. Hadrian stared at her. You had cancer? In remission 15 years now, Marlo smiled, but I remember the loneliness, how scary it is to be small and sick. So when I saw Twyla's chart, saw it was her birthday, I just wanted her to know someone noticed, that she wasn't invisible. She's not, Hadrian said fiercely. She's everything to me. I don't know how to be enough for her, not since my wife died. I'm terrified of doing it wrong, so I work instead. At least I'm competent at work.
You're competent at loving her too, Marlo said softly. You just forgot temporarily. Grief does that. But you're here now. That's what matters. Something shifted in Adrian's expression. Vulnerability replacing the CEO mask. Could I hire you as Twyla's private nurse? Not for medical care, but she lights up around you. You make her feel safe in ways I can't seem to manage. Marlo shook her head gently. Mr. Vale, Twyla doesn't need a private nurse. She needs her father. Present, imperfect, trying. That's enough. Then at least let me thank you properly, Adrian insisted. Dinner? Coffee? Something to show my gratitude. Marlo studied him carefully, seeing past the wealth to the grieving widower, the overwhelmed father. How about this? Bring Twyla to the hospital's children's wing party next month, not as a donor, but as a dad. Play games, face paint, be present. That's all the thanks I need. Adrian showed up to that party in jeans, the first time in years he'd worn anything but suits. He played musical chairs, got glitter in his hair during craft time, carried Twyla on his shoulders during the parade, and Marlo watched, her heart full. Afterward, he approached her with Twyla asleep against his shoulder. Thank you for reminding me what matters, for showing me how to see my daughter again. You always saw her. You just forgot how to show it, but you're learning. That's beautiful. I want to keep learning, Adrian said quietly, and I'd like you in our lives, not as an employee, as a friend, if that's appropriate. Marlo smiled. I think Twyla would like that, and honestly, so would I. Over the following months, Adrian transformed. He reduced work hours, hired better management, prioritized dinner with Twyla. Marlo became a regular presence, teaching Twyla to bake, showing Adrian how to braid his daughter's hair, being the bridge between a grieving father and a lonely child. One evening, as they decorated cookies in Adrian's kitchen, Twyla made an announcement. Miss Marlo, you should come to all my birthdays now, because you made birthdays special again. Marlo's eyes glistened. I would be honored. Adrian met her gaze across the counter, gratitude and something deeper in his expression. You didn't just bring my daughter cake. You brought us both back to life. You reminded me that success means nothing if I'm failing the person who matters most. You weren't failing. You were surviving. There's a difference. But now you're thriving, both of you. That's what matters. Twyla tugged both their hands. Can we have a tea party tomorrow, like Mommy used to do? Adrian's voice was thick. Yes, sweetheart, we absolutely can. As Marlo left that night, she reflected on how one small act, a homemade cake for a lonely child, had created ripples far beyond that hospital room. She'd given Twyla a birthday celebration, yes, but she'd also given a grieving father permission to fail forward, to be imperfect, to choose presence over perfection. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest transformations. A birthday cake, a stranger's kindness, a moment of being truly seen when loneliness feels overwhelming. We never know whose life we're changing when we choose compassion over convenience. When we notice the lonely child, the overwhelmed parent, the person drowning in plain sight. When we offer not solutions, but simple, profound presence. True kindness doesn't require grand gestures. It requires attention, seeing who needs to be seen, offering what we can, trusting that small acts accumulate into healing. A nurse brings cake. A father remembers how to be present. A lonely child learns she matters. That's how we save each other. One birthday, one moment of kindness, one choice to see and be seen at a time. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.